Hey, how's it going? So today we're going to be unboxing, building, and painting this Deathdealer kit by Moebius Models. It's based on the Frank Frazzeta painting, and I hear it's a great fitting kit. I hear it's nicely detailed, and I'm excited to get started, so let's do it. So starting with the unboxing, you could see I kind of fit the two halves of the horse together, two main halves, and the base. I didn't glue it, just wanted to see the fit. Even with the nubs on there, the seam's going to be easy to fill. Fits very nicely. See all the detail there in the face and everything. The eyes, really nice. Really liking this so far. But yeah, it shouldn't be too much cleanup at all. Uh, that base is nicely detailed, but you can see there's some flash on there in different spots here and also on the skull over here. Kind of see back here as well, right there where the hoof is. But yeah, it'll be easy to clean up. And here we have, this is the inner halves of the legs of the horse. Of course, there'll be a lot of seam filling for that too, but it shouldn't be too bad. They just kind of sandwich in underneath. But beautiful looking kit. So the details stand out nice. So it should be pretty fun to paint, honestly. And this runner here, this is the odds and ends, really. Parts of the saddle, parts of the Death Dealer, parts of the reins. Um, I mean, all really good. Here we have the face though. Really like the way that looks. You can see the horns and the face mask, the eyes, really pronounced details. I'm loving that. There's some of the stirrups, and there's the back of the head, and then the mask piece. Um, but yeah. And then next we have the horse's tail. Simple enough, front and back half. Nothing too fancy, just simple enough. And then after that, we have the legs of the Death Dealer. Now, I hear that you have to kind of fit them together, like test fit before you put it on, so it goes on properly and you don't have any issues attaching it because it's supposed to be a pretty snug fit. So we'll be careful of that for sure, you know. And then here's the shield. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to go about painting this. I'm trying to brainstorm the best way to do it, to do all the shading. Look at those nice little scratches and everything in there. Really beautiful. And now we have the arm parts, the ears for this horse. Again, nothing too fancy, just, simple enough. Just parts to peg in. Um, but yeah. And then here we have more of the parts of the Death Dealer. We have his cloak, his body, more arm parts, the axe, the sword, all that good stuff. Again, I'm going to carefully test fit things just because so many pieces are going to be in close proximity that I really want to be careful with it, and make sure that it all fits well, and I don't just put the whole thing together only to find that the rider doesn't sit on the horse right, or that the hilt of the axe, bumps into it, stuff like that. Just taking my time as I go. But yeah, and then it comes with this chain too that you'll have to cut here and there for parts on the stirrups and also the chain that goes around the sword that he uses to hold on to him. And yeah, that's the unboxing.
So right now, the majority of the kit has been primed in sub-assemblies. The horse, of course, the main body of it completed. The main body is in all the horse parts of the actual creature. It's pegged into place, not glued, because we're going to need to be able to paint the underbelly and the base and all that. The dealer we've put in sub-assemblies as well, and I primed it on the horse. That way I can glue down the inner legs without having to worry about, glue getting gunked up with the paint. Now, as for the cloak, that's separate as well, partially to paint, but also when you put that on there, that chain holding the sword is going to go over this shoulder and under this part of the cloak. It's the only way to get it to attach, so you have to do it separate. But luckily that slides in just right. It takes a little bit to get it in there because you have this one little peg and this one little hole. You got to kind of line it up just right, but when you get it, you'll know it. It'll cover this whole top piece, and it'll also pop this almost flush to the leg. So let's try to do that right now, and boom, there we go, right? Then you have the head, which again, separate. but that has 2 pegs on the inside. There's one there, and if you can get the light in there, one right there. And of course, 2 slots in the head to make sure you line it up just right. It sometimes takes a little fiddling with, but you can get it in there and it'll sit just right, and any gap between the neck and the body is now hidden by the cloak. Okay, of course, we have the hand separate as well, again, for ease of painting and for assembly, because I want to assemble this after I attach it to the horse to make it a little easier to deal with. Now, this hand can go into the wrist in several different angles, unfortunately, so you have to make sure you use the correct angle, because it can easily be pointed this way or this way unintentionally. All right, then of course we have the other arm separate as well. Again, 2 pegs, 2 slots, again for ease of assembly so I can get to the skin and reach all the little areas inside, right? I could pop this guy on, there we go. Now these parts I did attach to the horse and paint as well. Again, the inside without paint, that way they're easier to attach later. The shield I've done separate. I will be priming that along with this strap and the sword. Now for the stirrups, what I did, because there were 2 pegs in these and a hole on either side of the ankles, but it was hard to slide on after gluing this. So I clipped off the inner peg on either one, and that way I'll be able to slide it on there and attach it just fine and be able to paint it separately. Now as for the reins, these reins are made up of 5 different parts. So you have this main strap, and then these parts that'll hook on, right? Now these 2 pieces are not going to be attached to anything other than held together by these 2 hooks, this one on this side and the one on this side, right? The only part that's going to be glued down on any of this is this straighter end here, which is going to go into this hole right here on either side. So what I'm going to do is I'll be attaching all parts of the reins, right? Hooking this on. Oops, if I can flip that around. Hooking, this on like so. Oops, it fell off. Again, it's just hooked on. Then that piece there is going to be glued into that hole on the horse. Once that dries, I'll hook on the second piece here, pull it, and hold it in place while I glue that side too. So that's the only part of this thing that's going to have any glue at all. The rest is just the middle parts held together by these 2 hooks. And because at this end is going to be tugging at either side, it'll stay snug and it won't go anywhere. Again, that'll be separate as well. Now we're going to briefly attach the rider, the dealer, to the horse. You can see there you got the whole square peg, and you know you got it when it snaps into place and the legs are flush, which sometimes takes a minute. You can see he's not sitting down flush. It's because it's not in there all the way. When it's in there all the way, it's going to sit flush, like just like that. See how he's sitting flush against the horse? That's how you know you got it all the way on there. But yeah, that's the sub-assemblies for now, and let's get started with painting this bad boy. So first we'll start with Rhinox hide for the fur. We're going to use that same wet dry brushing technique we used with the face on the Bride of Frankenstein. And it's probably a good idea to leave a lot of the black of the recesses if possible. Next, we're going to do a dry brush all over the hair of the tail with Steel Legion Drab. Next, we use Mornfang Brown for the belts and Liberator Gold for all the brass parts. Finally, we use Gray Seer for the eyes. Then Iron Warriors for the horseshoes. And after touching up and gluing everything on, including the chains, which are a bit too long, here is our horse with the base coats all completed. So first we're going to use this Model Air paint by Vallejo, this aluminum color, and we're going to paint all of the silver parts with it. Afterwards, I thought about it again, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with that Iron Warriors for everything except for the chainmail. including the head, which we'll do a damp dry brush on. Same with the shield. It's a little messy now, but that's okay because we're going to clean it up later. Rhinox hide for the cloak. And Bugman's glow for the skin. We kind of want to go for that darker color like we see in Frazetta's painting. Then we're going to do the black with Corvus Black on the shield. Being careful not to get it out of the lines there. And also for the mask on the face. Then we're going to do the hilt of the axe with Mournfang Brown. Followed by Grey Seer, of course, for the eyes. I decided to use the Vallejo Aluminum and Liberator Gold for the stirrups. And next, we're going to use Ushabti Bone on the horns. Followed by White Scar over the Grey Seer on the eyes. Then I use the Rhinox hide on the hilt of the sword. And the Liberator Gold on the embellishments. Just taking our time. Next up is the base. We're going to cover 2/3 of it with a dry brush, not wet, of Rhinox hide. We kind of want it to be connected in some way, but just areas here and there. And then we're going to do the same thing with Mechanica Standard Gray. Some of it will go over the brown parts to blend it together. And then a wet dry brush of Rakarth Flesh over the skulls. It's okay if you don't get it near the edges. That'll just make it look like it's buried in the dirt, so that's good. Just like that. Then I'm doing a dry brush of Mephiston Red around the cracks where the blood's going to be. Trying to highlight it a bit before adding Corn Red into the grooves where it's supposed to go. Just getting that nice and deep in there. Make it look good. And then finally a very light dry brush of Evil Sun Scarlet around those edges, kind of over where we did the Mephiston Red to really bring it out. Once everything dries, I'm going to take Agrax Earthshade and I'm going to go over all of the gold parts. This will give it a much dirtier, grimier look and keep it dark like it's supposed to be because it's a pretty dark painting, you know. And I'm going to do the same thing with the pants, except for the chainmail, and also the stirrups. Next, I'm going to take Balthazar Gold and do a dry brush anywhere where I want that rust look. You just want to build it up slowly to get it to where you want. You could always add more just until it's where you want and you're happy with it. And then I decided to paint the arms in Cadian Flesh Tone because I felt like it was just too dark. Next, I'll take Nuln Oil and go over the eyes on the Deathdealer and also the eyes on the horse. After that dries, I'm going to go over those eyes with Evil Sun Scarlet. We're just going to take our time, go very slow, avoid trying to get it outside the lines, but if we do, we can always fix it. Next, we'll go over it with Wild Rider Red. This will focus here. There we go. And afterwards, a tiny bit of Fire Dragon Bright. Now we're going to do Nuln Oil over the chainmail. Once dry, we're going to hit the axe with this Corn Red for the blood to start. We're going to do a second layer after this. But just paint it wherever you want it towards the end. However you want it to look. I mean, it's your model, but put it wherever you like until you're happy with it. Then I'm going to take this pot of blood for the blood god and taking a piece of sponge. Now let's get a little more on there. We're going to dab it on. It's a darker color, but it'll give it some texture. Make it a little bit chunky looking too. There. Now remember how I said I cut the chain too long? I couldn't find, I couldn't
I didn't have enough chain. So I went and I bought this from Michael's. It's a craft store. And I'm going to paint it up with Iron Warriors. And that's going to be for our sword. Now, once it dries, I want to test fit it, right? Before I cut it. So I cut a longer amount. Now, I'm going to try to fit the cloak over it here. Oh, come on, get on there. There. Now, one side here, if I can get my tweezers. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to drape it over the shoulder. And again, this is just to test it. We want to make sure we don't cut it too long or too short, right? So we drape it over that shoulder. This part's going to go underneath, right? We tug at that a little bit. Okay, oh, fell. Get it up again. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take the sword and I'm going to kind of just hold it in place and see where to cut it exactly. So that one side looks good. Here, I'll hold that there. Hold on. I'm going to take my nippers there. I probably don't want to do it that way. It'll damage your nippers. But I do have an extra set, so I'm not too worried. Man, that does not want to cut. Come on. Come on. There we go. And then, of course, I remove it. And after a lot of tedious work gluing it in place, I fit it on there. The thing is, we want it to go over this side and under this side. So we want to just make sure it's as accurate as possible. This is an area where I've seen a lot of people struggle because they don't really go out of their way to tell you how to put this on there. But after looking at it, I figured out that this was the way to do it. So I'm going to fit that on, right? Like so. Come on. There we go. And in the back, watch. Watch. Oh, it's not on there all the way. Hold on. Come on now. Get on there. Ah. So let's use those tweezers again and drape this over. Excuse me. And now this is how it's going to fit. See?